What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rave Green TV. We got another fun one for you today. We're going to reach into the membership mailbag and answer some of the questions you guys have, specifically this question from Curtis Chad. Is Brian an issue? His stubbornness to play players where they are best suited, i.e. CR7 at right mid, Pedro de la Vega at right mid. And he has a whole bunch more examples under that. Brody, I'll let you start answering this question, and then I'll see what you have to say.
Yeah, so I think, in my opinion, I think there is a stubbornness a bit, but I don't think it's necessarily this, right? Pedro de la Vega, for example, you mentioned him as an example. When you bring in a guy like that, especially with how his first season went, just constantly being hurt, trying to find, even just to get him a rhythm, trying to find his best position. It's not like he was performing abnormally well. Obviously, I guess you could say he played Christian on the outside for a while, but I think there's good reason for that. You had JP was the man back at that time. We had Nico, and then we brought in Rusnak, so it was like, how do you fit all those guys over there, but also fit in Christian, who's more versatile, right? So I would say the stubbornness isn't from necessarily putting players in certain positions. I think he's shown that he's capable of moving players around where he sees fit. I think the stubbornness comes in favorites. I think sometimes guys get a bit of too long of a run when they're not performing the best, and no matter what, they'll find their way into significant minutes when in reality maybe more guys should be getting looks. There's a point in time when Alex wasn't looking very good and Kalani was, starting to take off, and it seemed like no matter what Kalani did, if he made one mistake, back in the doghouse, not really playing. Paul Rothrock, there's a stretch. Obviously, post-Club World Cup, he had a good few-game run. But before that, there's a long stretch where he was playing significantly and not doing much with those minutes. And it's you have guys like Kent, Pedro, Georgie, and, you're not wanting to mix in them as much because you have a favorite in Rothrock. Last year, we saw it with Morris for the first half of the season, constantly playing. Granted, that at that time, not much competition, but I think that's more where I would say stubbornness can be. I would say that's more so the stubbornness as opposed to putting players in certain positions. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's definitely a certain extent of we even saw it with when Nuhu came back from his red card, which to be fair, Baker Whiting didn't necessarily give him up the best fight, but kind of just giving him the spot back when he got back, after the suspension. I will say, though, that there's been a lot of critiques from the fan base about Brian's stubbornness in terms of rolling out the same squad over and over again, same players in the same spot, not really giving other players opportunity. Yet, as we film this, you sent a tweet out earlier today saying how we were one last-minute 30-yard screamer away from being on a 6-game winning streak. Look at our lineups over this 6-game stretch. There's been a ton of rotation. We've been a lot of subs. We've been changing the fullbacks, like you mentioned, Alex. Kalani sees some game time since that San Jose game. The front four has been pretty fluid. Outside of Rusnak, we even saw Musovski go on the bench. De Rosario get a start. We've seen a lot of rotation throughout this team as a whole. We finally saw Roldan get a break. Hopefully Obed gets a break soon. But we're finally using all these fresh legs, all this rotation, and magically we're on arguably MLS Moves on our stream the other day said the best run of form he's seen out of the Sounders team.
Hottest
I think
team
he said 10 years. Yeah. We put up 7 on Cruz Azul. The thing is, coming into this year, right? What was the one thing the Sounders got praised for? Our depth. That's all we were talked about. Matt Doyle put out a tweet about it the other day. He said Craig Weibel has built the deepest team in MLS history or something. Not an exact quote, but something to that extent. Magically, when we see the team rotate, get those fresh legs and offer something new, we go on a crazy run. And I think that's Brian adapting a little bit to the squad. Yes, he's had injuries to force his hand, but I think that's shown that he's maybe getting away from that stubbornness, which is frustrated the fan base, even could be when this question was submitted before this stretch of run. But I will agree, there's definitely been a stubbornness from Schmetzer in terms of who he gives favoritism to, who gets priority over others in terms of minutes played. But I'm hoping this stretch run is sort of showing Sounders turning a new leaf. The fan base was definitely starting to get frustrated with Brian, but how can you be frustrated with much with this stretch of form we're on?
Yeah, no, we can definitely admit, this isn't just a, this season type thing. Schmetzer's been a favoritism guy for a bit, right? And you see when we rotate the squad, leading into the Club World Cup, that's kind of more where that was the same old Brian. kind of just playing the same team week in and week out. Post Club World Cup, like obviously a lot of rotation had to be done, right? So many games, such a short amount of time, had to rotate, and then you're seeing the fruits of that. And I wonder if that's just kind of like Schmetzer kind of having his hand forced to kind of rotate the squad. I mean, or if that's just him having a change of heart just in general. I will say I will give Brian some slack, especially like last year when he wasn't rotating the squad a lot, because like the options at that time were like it was like rough. Like the winger depth at one point was like layout shoes, like rock bottom confidence, and like Dylan Tevez. Like, really want to rotate these guys in? Now that we have a lot of solid depth, I mean, like fucking hell, Ryan Kent is like a bench player, like first guy off the bench for us, Ryan Kent, and Georgie can barely get a game in at this point, So like the depth now is real compared to years past, and I think his hands kind of been forced into rotating. Whether or not that's like him having a change of heart or him just kind of like being forced to, I guess, with the amount of games. But either way, it's paying off dividends for us, and you know, we look like the most dangerous we've ever looked in the last like what few years. So I hope Brian keeps it up. I hope he keeps rotating. If he doesn't, then I guess we'll know. We'll see in the next like month or so, right? I mean, if he keeps kind of putting his favorites out there, despite what guys like Pedro have shown, and Ryan Kent when he comes back, what they've shown, Musovski, what he's shown, D-Row, players like that, Kalani. If he kind of reverts back to doing what he used to do, I guess we'll find out whether or not if this is something that'll stick.
Yeah, and I mean, I think part of it too is we've seen over this stretch players, even with less game time, able to elevate their performance, because this is the first time in this stretch where I feel like everyone starting every week feels that pressure. They know that their starting spot is not necessarily guaranteed outside Roldan and Obed, but we can't really complain because those have been arguably our best players all year. But I mean, it's pretty hard to have a bad game when you know that if you have a bad game, someone else actually can take your spot now. And that's been something that has been lacking in this team for years now. I mean, every position on the field outside of Reed doesn't pick it up, maybe Nuhu feels a little bit of comfortability, which is like whatever. But everyone knows that if they have a bad game, they might not start next game, and who knows if someone's going to go on a heater run. And that might even contribute to De La Vega playing a little bit better. We saw him actually get the bench and stay on the bench, where up until that point, a lot of his career at the Sounders, he's been hurt, and then right when he gets back, he has significant minutes. I mean, that's just one example. There's numerous examples of the guys that are putting up goals, assists, solid performances, and the chances they get because we're actually seeing a rotated squad. And I want to put in too, like, yes, Leagues Cup is mixed into this 6-match run, but I mean, we beat Cruz Azul 7-0. Tijuana, not terrible team. And I mean, okay, Santos is terrible, like legit terrible. But LA Galaxy has been historically a rough game on the road for us, no matter what Galaxy team we're facing. Like a lot of these games, yes, they have not been the most difficult run, but none of them have been easy games. And we've rotated through all of it and been on the hottest run we've been on in years. So I think it just shows that whether our hands forced or not, Brian maybe is turning a new leaf, and we might see a rotated squad actually having the Sounders take full advantage of what we're known for.
I mean, there's like what, maybe 3 guys whose names are like kind of just guaranteed on the team sheet. That's Obed and Christian and Yamar when he's healthy. I guess maybe Nuhu, but I mean, even then, like, I know it was for a short period of time, but like when Nuhu came back off that suspension, like he didn't start the first couple games. He did obviously come back in, and I think Reed kind of just being subpar, if not worse, escalated that. If Reed was performing, I think it would be kind of tough. It'd be a tough decision for Brian Schmetzer. But when last year you couldn't say that. You couldn't say there's like 3-4 guys maybe where no matter how they do, they're going to get minutes. I mean, like, or get starts consistently. I mean, last year, dude, first half of the season, we mentioned all the time, Jordan Morris, like 1 goal in the first 14 games, still got starts no matter what, because we didn't really – I know we had Musovski, but that Musovski is a different Musovski from the one that we have now, obviously. But if we had Musovski now back then, I don't think Morris would have just, walked his way and starts every single game. I don't think it would have been as easy. So I think just the amount of depth has helped, and I think it's kind of, whether or not Brian's adapted or not, it's kind of forced his hand regardless to rotate. And I think, honestly, if Brian's stubbornness, as long as we're, a winning team, as long as we're consistently making runs in the playoffs, I'm fine with it, right? So,
I mean, if we win, right, you can't question the coach's decision if he wins, right? That's kind of just how, that's the name of the business. If they get the win, that's how it works. But, I think a good example of the possibility changing in the Sounders' way of thinking in terms of like favoritism, stubbornness is Fry was on the bench and good to play on Sunday, and Thomas still started. I don't think in years past that would have happened. I feel like Fry, which no disrespect to Fry, because Fry is a absolute club legend. Fry is one of the best goalkeepers in MLS history. That's a fact. But the fact that Schmetzer was willing to keep rolling with Thomas, I think is kind of showing hopefully a new mindset. Because I don't think even last year, if Fry was borderline okay to start, I think he would have been back in over Thomas. But guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Thanks for sticking around. Leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you guys want to have the opportunity to have your question featured in a video just like this, go ahead and join the channel as a member. Join the membership page. You'll get tons of cool perks. You'll get videos just like this that you can choose the theme of. You'll get prioritized in all of the streams. And you get some fun emojis to drop in the chat whenever we are live. But besides that, we'll see you guys later.